Hey team, we're coming at you with another remote Kinstretch class. Today we're going to focus on the toes, especially the big toes, such a critical part of proper running and walking, as well as some ankle supination and pronation. And then we're also going to jump to the other side of the body and do a little specific work for the neck, which can be a real pain when it is a pain. And so here's some options to work on that. So I'm going to have you start out on hands and knees, and we're just going to get your spine moving first things first. So come on to hands and knees on your mat or your carpet at home. And you're going to start by just creating some brace. Imagine your hands are super glued to the floor and you're trying to push the floor away from your legs. And just feel that tension register in your body. And then do the same thing with your toes. Imagine your big toes are super glued to the floor and you're pushing the floor behind you. All right? If possible today, do try to curl those toes under because that will help prep our work for later. If it's too painful, you can flatten out the feet. That's fine. All right. And now keeping this tension, start to curl your tailbone under. And specifically try to send a stretch to the lowest segments of your back. So you are in complete control of the pace and you're really being specific with where you're focusing your stretch. As we do our first reps through the spine, it's best just to look for that lengthening or stretching feeling all the way up to the base of your neck, taking your time to go chin to chest, but also chin into your neck to lengthen that top part of your neck. All right, and then remember the super glued points on the floor. Try to now pull your hands towards your knees, feel your abs really tighten up, and then start directing your tailbone to the ceiling instead. Belly button starts to reach towards the floor. And now try to send that stretch to the front side of your torso. So you're really trying to open up length from your belt buckle all the way up through your sternum and to the base of your neck and finally to your chin. Okay. Now from here again, push the floor away with your hands and your toes, start curling your tailbone under. This time through, try to focus on the shortening feeling on the front of your torso. What muscles are contracting and getting shorter in order to make this change in shape of your spine? Go ahead, rock out on that, taking your time. Really trying to shorten anything that you can feel on the front of your torso a little bit more than the first rep. Good. Once your chin's pulled into your neck and you're fully flexed, pull the floor towards your knees with your hands and start up tailbone to the ceiling. This time trying to feel the shortening effort on the back side of your torso so that your spinal column muscles are shortening up, cinching up in sequence all the way up. As you reach your sternum forward and up, reach your chin up to the ceiling. Great. Now give me 20 more seconds going at your own pace, curling your tailbone under, taking any pauses that you might need as you go through. Very nice. Keep working. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and wherever you're at, just relax that there. Okay, now go ahead and have a seat on the floor. And we're going to get into an ankle car. Now, Hannah will show the setup where she's just wrapping up the one thigh at a time. You can clasp your hands together or link up on the forearm if you're familiar with that setup. Sometimes this position doesn't feel great, so you might just want to lean back against a wall and just kind of cradle your thigh away from you so that your ankle's off the floor. All right? But the main idea is that you have some feeling of your thigh bone not able to move while your ankle bone does move, or your ankle joint rather. Okay, so from here, go ahead and start with your toe up towards your kneecap. As you start to push your toe away from your midline out to the side, really try to feel no rotation of your shin following that toe. Start to reach your toe down towards the floor and bring that toe in towards your midline. and then all the way back to where you started. Pause there, and let's tick-tock the other way. So start going the other way. As your toe goes in, don't let that shin rotate at all, but really, if you can monitor with a hand or just keep your eyes on it, doing your best to generate the motion right at your ankle joint and not at your tibial joint, at your knee. Okay, and then let's go back the other way. Keep tick-tocking, 40 more seconds. And just like we were talking about with the spine, you can either focus on what you feel shortening to pull you into each position, or you can think about lengthening the parts that get longer in each position. So as you go, I invite you to take a look at both of those sensations as they kind of are generated from the ankle. Last 10 seconds. Hannah's working hard here, really sending some good energy and tension into that ankle joint. 3, 2, 1, and relax. Great. Let's try the other side.
Short stuff.
Yeah, ankle crampies, foot crampies are a real pain as well. Okay, let's go toe up to the knee and start your ankle car on this side. Noticing how this foot might be more or less accessible in terms of the control you're able to generate, but going slow. Go a little slower than your body might want to. And then once you get toe to kneecap again, go the other direction. See if you can't point that toe down towards the floor a little more. Can you open up length at the crease of your ankle? There we go. Keep going back and forth, 30 more seconds. As you go, you might notice here too, the bottom of Hannah's foot is tilting side to side, and that's actually a really critical part of our ankle mobility that we're going to work on a bit today. But for now, just notice how it's not just a pure circle, but it's actually a circle via the tilting of the bottom of your foot. You can really lean into that. You don't want to avoid the tilt. You want to actually utilize that tilt to get an even larger circle with your big toe. Last 10 seconds. Three, 2, 1, and relax. Great. Now stay seated and just set both feet out in front of you. Again, you can lean back if that feels more comfortable. I want you to be really able to focus on your toes, so make sure the rest of your body isn't distracting in any way. And then bring those heels in towards your butt just a bit, because if you are too extended out, you're going to find it's pretty difficult to control your toe joints. So we want to just have a nice neutral angle at the knees and ankles. Now from here, try to curl all of your toes into the floor. Really press the pads on the bottom of your toes down to the floor. But when you do, make sure the ball of your foot on each side doesn't come off the ground. We want to keep that anchored. And then keeping your little toes plugged down to the floor, start controlling the lift of your big toe. So you're just trying to lift both big toes at the same time as much as you can, and then control the lowering phase. Back up and down. So you're spending as much energy on the little toes staying down as you are on generating motion and control at the big toe. A couple more here. Now, sometimes when you try these, if it's the first time, you might sort of be like, Will, what in the heck? There's no way I'm controlling this at all. In that case, I invite you to just pause the video and try one foot at a time. Same idea, just trying to get the big toe to lift up and down. That way you can use your hand to help. All right, lift your big toes up and hold them here. Now make sure you keep the ball of your foot on the floor and start to bring your little toes up to meet your big toes. All 4 of those little toes lifting up. Try to feel them all lift up. Okay? Now keeping the big toe up, start to bring the little toes back down and then right back up. The goal, as always with Kinstretch, is not to be perfect, not to look like Hannah's showing, but actually just to improve the control that you are able to generate at your toes. Just make it 1% better here today. go.
Because my toes are perfect.
Yeah. Well, Hannah has done this a few times in the past. Okay, and then lift those little toes up as high as you can. Hold them up. Try to feel what is contracting in your shin to keep those little toes up. And then start only lowering the big toe down to the floor. Trying to tap down with control and then bring them right back up. We're going to do this for a few reps. If your feet are starting to cramp or burn a little bit, that's okay. Starting to get a little training effect. Try to stay with the work. Good. All the way up. And then last rep, really try to keep the little toes up as you send that big toe towards the floor and pin it now to the floor. Imagine there's a $100 bill under each one and you're trying to hold on to that $100 bill. And then keeping that pressure, start to set your toes down as widely spread apart as possible. Setting them down, all the way down to the floor. When they're back to the floor, keep your big toes down and lift just the little toes. Start to set them down, thinking pinky toe as wide as possible, then the fourth toe, third toe, second toe, and then all four toes back up. Just 15 more seconds here working on that toe control. Again, if these are new to you, just trying to dissociate big toe from little toe is a great goal. However, if you've been doing them for a while, I want you to try to stretch those toes a little further apart from each other. So you start to notice what muscles are actually responsible for toe abduction and adduction. Last rep, as wide as possible. Combat the effects of narrow shoes here and pin all those toes down. Excellent. Nice. Relax. Now I'm going to have you come up to tall kneeling or standing. Either one works just fine. And you're going to set up your shoulders in a little bit of an internally rotated position. So two fists, try to reach them together behind your tailbone, maybe on behind your lower back. You want to find a position that is close to end range internal rotation at your shoulders, but isn't, again, distracting. All right? So just a little bit of rotation is good. And then from here, try to actively slide your shoulder blades down your back, okay? And then pin your fists together. So we're turning the torso and lower body into a statue, into a stone statue, just creating a little tension. The idea here is that your shoulder blades will be less tempted to move along with the motion of your neck as we do your neck car, all right? So start here pulling your chin into your neck, and then starting to roll your chin down your neck towards your chest. If I do it too much, I'm going to really overload the microphone. Okay, and then finish up bringing that chin all the way to your chest as much as possible before we start to rotate to look over and behind your right shoulder. As you do, you'll notice your chin travels away from your chest a bit. Start to go with that feeling as you lift your chin up to the ceiling, stretching the very front of your neck, and making a nice, smooth, controlled arc all the way over until you're looking over and behind your left shoulder. Once you finish that rotation, start bringing your chin back towards your chest. Pause there. Notice the sensation of stretch at the back of your neck, and let's go the other way. Turn to look over and behind your left shoulder, wringing out that rotation. Then start to tip the crown of your head back and reach your chin up to the ceiling, sending a stretch to the front of your neck. Now, for this warm-up set of neck cars, if there are any segments that are painful in any way, I want you to just shorten up the size of the circle, keep moving slow and smooth, and really focus on not letting your shoulder blades jump up. They are definitely going to try to jump in response to pain. Let's do one more in each direction. Taking your time, trying to articulate into every angle that you have access to. And definitely moving a little slower than your body might want to. There we go. Keep breathing. mostly to remind your nervous system that everything is a-okay. Staying calm and staying a little bit activated through the shoulder blades, staying down your back. Finish up this last rep. Whenever I do neck cars, I really am thinking about how motion is the main way that our body maintains joints. So when you have neck joints, for example, that don't get a lot of movement, they don't receive that nourishment that they're going to rely on to stay strong and resilient and healthy for a long time. So just invite some movement in here. Nice. Okay, finish up that car, taking your time. We're going to come back to focus on the neck a little bit at the end of the class, but let's zoom in on the feet again. So again, have a seat here. And the first thing we have to do whenever we're working on range of motion, pails, rails, as we are about to with the big toe, is to find a position that allows us to passively stretch the joint. So I'm going to have you get into what we call a modified combat base, where you're just sitting down on your right butt cheek, on your right thigh, and that left foot is just sort of out to the side so that you have a direct gaze onto the inner arch. Okay? And you can kind of adjust your body however you need to here. This is should just be a really comfortable position for you to be able to grab your big toe and start to pull it away from the floor without letting the ball of your foot come off the floor. Now, if you feel like, again, you're really reaching for that toe, or your belly is in the way, or there's any reason that you're having trouble to grab onto that toe, we're going to show you a variable setup here in just a moment. Okay? If the seated setup that we just showed is not feeling good, or you don't have a good grip on the toe, it works fine to come up to standing and find something around your house that will allow you to set your big toe on the support, but your little toes are off. So this could be a pillar, this could be a corner, this could be a little door jamb, whatever it might be. We just have a block here, but you're going to wedge yourself in so that the big toe pad is as high up on that support as possible while still getting the ball of your foot onto the floor. That's going to allow you to start pails contracting by pushing down into the support, and rails contracting, trying to lift off, but nothing will be able to move. And then you can just follow along with the pails and rails indications that we're going to give you here in a second. All right. But from this stretched position, you're going to try to crank that big toe back as much as you can. Definitely respect any feelings of pain that you get in the closing angle. So if this part of the joint is causing pain and limiting your stretch, then don't push into that much further. What we want to look for is a feeling of length and stretch from the toe pad all the way to the heel bone, all the way through that foot. So just take a moment to feel that. There's a good chance that your other toes are going to try to come up. See if you can kind of emphasize them towards the floor and focus the stretch on your big toe. All right? Now, from this position, try not to move from here as we start to gently push the big toe down, as if it's pushing against the gas pedal, but that gas pedal is not going to move. As you start to generate that tension, you can increase the tension by, again, not letting the big toe move, but by pulling with the hands a little bit more firmly. So you're creating a little bit more of a war or an opposition between the big toe and the fingers. Ramp that up to 50% effort, 60, 70, and hold it 10 seconds at 80% effort. Hannah is working here not just in the foot and the toe, but also in the upper body to resist that effort in her toe. 3, 2, 1. Keep using this effort now to reach the big toe away from the fingers. It might actually lift off, or you might just feel the change in contraction to the top of the foot and to that closing angle of the joint. Keep holding it. Last 10 seconds, take your fingers away and hold this angle so you have a clear view of what you are capable of in terms of active big toe flexion. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slow motion lower down to the floor, and just give a few waves up and down of that big toe. Let your arm recover and just let that big toe joint move a little bit. All right. Now, round 2. We're just going to do 2 rounds on each side. Go ahead and lift that big toe as much as you can. Grab on with your fingers and notice that you're able to pull it into a little bit more flexion with the aid of your hand. That's your passive range of motion in comparison to your active range of motion. All right, you might notice that you're able to stretch the big toe back a little bit further this round. All right. Now from here, very light at first. Start thinking gas pedal down with that big toe. As you do, try to notice the contraction happen through the whole bottom of your foot. Start to ramp up the effort there. As you do, start to ramp up the amount of pull that you're generating from your hand. Intensify that opposition between your toe and your fingers up to 50%, 60, 70, 80, and all the way up to your greatest safe effort. 5, 4, 3, 2, keep going with this effort, but now think rails contraction. Try to lift your big toe away from your fingers. Try to feel that contraction start all the way at your knee, because the muscle that lifts your big toe does live in this compartment here. 5, 4, 3, take your fingers away, 2, 1, and super slow motion, lower that big toe with control. Very nice. Okay, so that's how we want to go after making that big toe joint move a little better. If you notice some significant limitation, meaning maybe you are only able to lift it this high, highly recommend getting reps in here. But for everyone, some extra toe control work can be a huge benefit, and that's just the toe cars that we started with. Let's get the other side in. So again, on this side, make sure you're comfortable in terms of your body setup. If you need to lean against the couch or lean back against the wall, that's great. And then from here, grab onto your big toe and pull it back into as much stretch as you can find. Again, if there is a limitation here because of pain you're feeling in this side of the joint, you want to respect that. You don't need to avoid this exercise, but you do want to avoid pulling it more into that pain. Just stop where you feel the pain start. Okay? Ideally, we're feeling a stretch through the bottom of the foot and through the ball of the foot, and that's what we're going to start loading now as we start thinking gas pedal down. As you feel that, generate a bit more pull with the fingers. Ramp that effort, that PAILs effort up to 50%, 60%, 70%, and 80%. 10 seconds, 80% effort. Your whole body is focused on trying to push the immovable gas pedal to the floor. 3, 2, 1. Now direct that effort to a rails contraction, trying to lift the pad of your big toe away from your fingers. Yeah, keep your fingers on for now so I can kind of help you. Good. 5, 4, 3, take your fingers away, 2, 1, and slow motion fade to the floor. Good. So that moment when we take the fingers away, that's a chance for you to actually notice how close is your passive range to your active range of motion. All right, if that makes no sense, don't worry about it. Okay, let's do a second round. Grab onto the big toe, pull it back, find that stretch. Do your darndest to keep those little toes down, but again, don't worry about it too much because we really want to get some good effort into the big toe joint. All right, finding a little more stretch. Nice. Okay, now from this newly stretched position, make sure you have a good grip and start to very gently at first push that big toe down into the fingers. As you get a feeling for that contraction, start to ramp it up. And meet the pressure of your big toe with the pull on your arm. Ramp it up to 60% effort, 70, 80, and your greatest safe effort. Good. 4, 3, 2. Use all that effort to now reach the big toe away from your fingers, but do keep your hand in place. 5, 4, 3. Take your fingers away. 2, 1, and slow motion fade to the floor. Awesome. Do a few lifts and lowers of that big toe just to notice your change in control, change in sensation. Good. All right, now make your way up to standing. We are going to use a block just to provide a firm surface to stand on. You won't need that. You just want to stand on wherever you can stand, but you might want to have a point of support for your balance. Okay, so Hannah's going to use a dowel here, but for you, you just want to make sure you're not distracted by balance here. We want to focus on the ankle control. So we're going to work on that tilt of your ankle, but when your feet are fixed on the floor, it's called supination and pronation. So I'm going to have you start by just trying to collapse your arches towards the floor. You might feel that your knees are trying to fall in. Let that happen for this first one. Just really let your knees go knock knee. Let the insides of your feet really collapse down. All right? And now, keeping the ball of your foot down and your big toe pinned, start to try to pull the arch away from the floor and notice the contraction that causes that motion. All right? Again, collapse your feet towards the floor. It's okay if your shins and knees move a little bit, and then pull that arch away from the floor. Good. Back and forth here. As you start to get a feel for it, try to open up that arch even a little bit more, and then shorten that arch a little bit more. So that's what we're trying to maximize, the shortening and lengthening of your inner arch. Just work that another 20 seconds. It might be an extremely small motion or even a non-motion. That's okay. Just send the signal for now and make sure that you're really clear of what you're contracting and what you're relaxing. Nice. Okay, last one. Really let the arch open up as much as possible, and then try to shorten up that arch as it pulls away from the floor. Now hold here and start making your forefoot and toes heavier than your heel. And if you keep making it heavier and heavier, your heels will start to lift off of the floor. And as you do, notice that that contraction we generated in the arch is holding your ankle steady here. Go up to an inch or two is fine. You don't have to go all the way to a point. And then smoothly come back down. Let your heels relax and collapse those arches in towards the floor again. Okay? Now prepare again by trying to shorten the arches away from the floor. Keep that effort going. Make the forefoot and toes heavy and lift those heels away from the floor. Come to a complete stop and then control your lowering phase. The slower you can go, the more benefit and adaptation you get out of this exercise. We're going to do 3 more reps, team. So drop the arches towards the floor. Start to pull them away and lift the heels. Good. We're getting a lot of reports of people starting to run a bit more because of the shelter in place. And that's a great thing, getting outside. But sometimes that stress on your feet and ankles can take a toll. This is one of our favorite drills to make sure you're maximizing the control here. Serves as a nice warm-up before a run. Okay, last rep. Really shortening the arch to set up that contraction. And then keep that feeling as you start to lift your heels. And keep the feeling even as you lower your heels. So it's not just a full collapse of your foot. Once your heels are down, then collapse your arches. Very nice. Okay, and relax. All right, we're gonna work on the neck now a little bit. And I want you to come back to tall kneeling. So we did that neck car to prepare. And what you'll notice during a neck car is that we do lengthen all the parts of the neck, but the lateral side of the neck, we actually lengthen from rotation. So Hannah, if you just go chin to chest to start, rotate to look over your right shoulder. Okay. Now from here, she might start to feel some stretch through this side, but she's really going to accentuate that stretch as she starts to tip the crown of her head back. All right? So if you want to try that and get a feel for that, that's the tissue we're going to try to aim for here. So come back down, chin to neck, or sorry, chin to chest, and let's go the other way and just check in on what that stretch sensation feels like on the other side. Good. Okay. Now come back forward, square up your head straight ahead. And instead of starting with flexion, let's start with lateral flexion. So start bringing your right ear to your right shoulder and notice how that opens up the stretch on the left side of your body. Now accentuate that stretch by reaching your left arm down towards the floor and notice how there's a little bit more stretch sensation here. Okay? Now use your other hand to hook onto the crown of your head and very light pressure, start just pressing down on the side of your head as you reach your opposite arm towards the floor. So we are PAILs contracting the tissue on this side. We're teaching it how to live and be strong in a long position. Ramp that up to about 20% and that's it. Hold it there. And relax. Bring your head back upright. Check in on a lateral flexion on the other side. Notice a stretch. Accentuate that stretch by reaching your right arm towards the floor. And then hook your head with your other hand. Apply very gentle pressure. And mostly try to increase that PAILs contraction via the reach of your free arm. That's the kind of a safer side to work from. The top hand is just providing a little stop, a little brace. Ramp this up to 20% effort PAILs contraction. And relax. Great. Let's go back to the first side. Find a lateral flexion stretch. Good. Now this time, reach the hand down towards the floor, and you're going to just play with a little motion of that scapula on that left side. So start sliding the scapula forward as you reach towards the floor, and then back as you reach towards the floor. So it's not our full scapular car, it's just sort of scanning for lines of tension. Keep going back and forth, and I challenge you to find your juiciest line of tension. You'll know because it'll be the line that goes, oh, that feels the best, or sometimes it doesn't feel great, it just feels very intense, like that's the line you need. And go ahead, settle into that particular line. Hook the crown of your head with your right arm, and then make sure that right arm is keeping things still as you increase the reach with your free arm. You are specifically trying to load that line that you just located. So really be specific with your effort as you ramp up to 20%. Hold it at 20%. Become friendly with that 20% effort. And relax it. Gently come upright with the head. And laterally flex the neck the other way. Reach the free arm down towards the floor and start scanning. Shoulder blade forward into protraction, back into retraction. Good. Now settle into your juiciest line of tension. Once you locate it, hook your free arm onto the crown of your head. Make sure that the head's not going to move as you increase the reach with your fingertips at that specific line of tension that you found. Ramp up that PAILs effort to 20%. Hold it here, 10 more seconds. Exposing that line of tension to some specific loading. 3, 2, 1, and relax. Very nice. Okay, now we're going to finish up with a neck car. Bring your fists together behind you again. Notice if you can reach your scapula down your back a little more actively than our warm-up set. Fists pinned together and into your low back. And then commit to not letting your scapula move as we go through this neck car. Chin to neck, chin to chest. Then start to look over and behind your right shoulder. When you can't rotate anymore, tip the crown of your head back. Scanning for that stretch feeling as you make a big arc, chin over to the other side. Then start to trace the chin along the collarbone and back to the chest. And let's make our way the other way. Make sure the scapula and the arms are working a bit harder than the motion of your neck. So you're focused on your neck, but your effort and your muscular tension is focused on your scapula not moving. Go all the way around to the other side. Take your time, trace that collarbone, and relax. All right. Hope that you enjoyed that. A little movement snack for your neck. A great one if you find yourself in front of a computer screen a bunch these days. And we will see you soon. I hope we're okay here with battery because it started to blink.